Savanna, it is so refreshing to have you in Nashville. You have no idea. Your energy, like your type of music. Do you feel that you're leading like a genre charge? I feel like you're leading a genre charge.
I think genre has always been like a hard topic for me to like feel like I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I sound like. I think when I got here, I grew up listening to country music, and like Florida is really not even that much of a country music hub necessarily, at least not Tampa. But my like family was big on like old country and like rock. And so when I moved here, I felt like I almost had to do country just because Nashville's such a like, big spot for that kind of music. And I was like, this doesn't feel authentic to me for a long time. So then I kind of went like super pop, and then that didn't really feel super authentic to me for, a long time either. So it's been like a really long 4 years of just like finding the music that feels like me. And I think we figured it out a little bit more every year of just like how to blend like natural elements of acoustic music and country music with pop sounds that kind of feel like Savanna. And I think we've gotten there. I think it's a process for sure. But yeah, I would say I hope that people can hear my music and feel like, oh, that's Savanna Leigh's song. Like, not that it's, what everyone else is doing, I guess.
Yeah. And that's exactly how it sounds like.
Yeah.
And your songwriting, which is like in this new EP that's coming out in this new album, there's it's your first self-written song.
Yeah, I mean, so I've written everything I've ever put out since like 2021, when I think I started releasing my own solo stuff. I was always a writer on, but I always had co-writers. And on this EP, I've like released a song on. Yes. This EP was the first time I put a song out on there that was solo. Yeah, that I wrote by myself. A lot of the stuff I do is like me and another writer, me and 2 other writers. And yeah, this is the first time I've kind of been like, yes, I love writing with other people, but I can also showcase like what I work on when I'm by myself too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what strikes me about you, Savanna, just in research and everything, is it feels like you came to Nashville and you're very focused. Like, and just the time I've talked to you, you have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not letting anything up to chance. Like, you're a hard worker. It seems like that's the way to do it, right? Like, you have to know where you're taking this ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I sometimes think about just how many years my brain has kind of been like very one-track minded. I think I've never not been that way. Even when I was like really young, I always knew like I want to do music, and I was always thinking of like, how am I going to get myself in a position to be able to pursue it as like a career instead of just, doing festivals around like Florida. Or like, I think growing up, I did a lot of singing competitions locally just because Tampa's not really a music city at all. So there wasn't much you could do. And I was like, intentionally went to a high school that had like a really great music department, and they had like a performing like show choir where you would travel and sing and dance and compete. So I was always looking for ways to even then like focus on music, and I never really saw myself doing anything else. And now as an adult, like, I don't even know, I never had like the crazy college 20s like thing going on. It's always literally just been me focusing on my music and trying to sprinkle in fun, because that's the thing that I feel like I'm the worst at, is like being my age to some degree. And then I don't think I'll burn out. I hope not, because that's like one of the things I always think about is like, am I going to regret not really ever feeling like my age and kind of always thinking so far ahead? But so far I haven't felt that way. So yeah.
Like, that's, I mean, 9 out of 10 things are positives.
Yeah.
If there's like one negative, like, it balances out, trust me.
Yeah.
But that's crazy that you say that. Obviously, your dad was a musician,
Mm-hmm.
was a musician in Brandon, Florida. You used to tour with him, right? When you were like a little girl, like, you used to go out tour with him.
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember from that time that like made you fall in love with music?
Yeah. So my dad was touring from when I was about like, when I was born until I was about 4 or 5. So, and my sister, her and I both, she's 20 months older than me. We would be like taken out on the road with them until I started kindergarten. So it was like, we had a house here. We rented it out. It was our like second home kind of. And so we went from Florida to here all the time, back and forth. And I don't know, I remember just being pulled up on stage a lot. I think like he would just throw us up there. I mean, we were toddlers, so it's like crazy. Yeah, no, literally. It was that, and he was just like kind of exposure therapy, like throw you to the wind. And my dad was always really big on like taking risks and not, being comfortable, and always kind of wanted, us to like live life in a way where we kind of just dove in headfirst to whatever we were passionate about, my sister and I both. And yeah, I remember just being up on stage at like, I think I was probably 2 or 3 and singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star into like a crowd of like thousands of people. And I only remember it because I think it was like, you can only be so terrified to remember something at that age. So I was probably freaking out. But yeah, I mean, there's pictures of us like in front of the tour bus and stuff. And I don't remember too much, but I remember being like in front of people and performing to any capacity. And yeah, for sure.
And, Sav, just like on your new singles and like checking out your music past week or so, there seems to have been a nice shift in your life, in your inner life, of being surrounded by people with like-minded energy. It just seems like, you talk about it like with your friends, you talk about it with your relationships and with all sorts of relationships. But it seems like it's an extension of you. Like you don't want to be surrounded yourself by people that don't flow with you. Would that be, is that accurate?
Yeah, I've always kind of been that friend in my friend groups, or just that person in my life that's always felt like I've like seeked out my friends. Like I'm the person that kind of brings a group of people together. I've always felt that way. Like even growing up, it was like Savannah's house was the place that everyone kind of like reconvenes, or like even in college, it's like I felt like I was very specifically picking those people that I would observe and just be like, they seem to be somebody that I could get along with and vibe with. I don't know. I've always been someone that, loves people, but I don't think I'm for everyone. And I've always been okay with that idea. Just being like authentically me. And like, if I am not liked by somebody or they don't, vibe with me very well, I'm like, that's totally fine. I'm never going to not be me. And I don't want them to never be them. It's very much like I'm okay if I don't like die with someone really perfectly. And so, yeah, I've always kind of felt that way. Like now, even I just have like such a great group of people around me. And I remember when I was little, like how much my mom would kind of impress the idea on me, like you are, who you hang out with kind of thing. And that was such a huge like thing. And growing up that I was told a lot, and I think it definitely impacted me because I was just like, if I'm going to pursue something like music, I don't really have a lot of time outside of that to like hang out with people who are not supportive or not genuine and, don't want the best for me. And same goes for me wanting the best for them. So
have you found out in Nashville, I mean, you've been here 6 years, coming on 6 years. So
yeah.
Have you found that to be easy to kind of like see to like the good energy that can come to your life in the music industry? Or have you found it sometimes tricky to navigate?
Yeah.
It can be a little choppy sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super like instinctual, I think. I'm not really much of like an overthinker necessarily. And I also don't really base a lot of things off my feelings. I'm kind of like instinct, right? When I get into a room with someone, kind of like we either vibe or we don't vibe. And I think with music specifically, Nashville has been a very genuine place for the most part for me. There's only been like a few like count on one hand experiences that I didn't feel like the people in the room were genuine people or like in it for the right reasons or that they had bad intentions. And I've always kind of just gone off my initial gut instinct of people just because I feel like it's never really let me down in the past. And yeah, just like instinctually, like it is, it's crazy. Yeah. And I think that it's weird because I'm super big into like the whole, like psychology and personality stuff. And there's like, in a lot of the personality like tests and things that I like look into with like my psychology obsessions, there's like I know it's crazy. There's like the gut center, like the heart center, and like the head center, which is like basically thinking, feelings, and instinct. And yeah, I mean, I feel like for my personality type, which this goes into like the Enneagram stuff that I like am really interested in outside of it, I'm an 8. So it's basically the challenger. That's the name of it. And it's in like the gut triad. So it's just basically like my core like thing in life, and like my core drive, I guess, is to just be like in control of my own life and like my own destiny, to not really ever be at like the mercy of somebody else. And I think that can be a good and a bad thing. I just like to be like the person running the ship of my own life. And I feel like I don't want to control other people. I just don't want them to try to control me. And that's like where I guess a lot of my like drive comes from. I'm a very intense person, passionate person, close friend person, like close circle, not really like super open and vulnerable with people I don't know. So I guess that's like a short version of it. Yeah.
found that to be like, helpful for like
Yeah, I mean, I found out about the Enneagram when I moved here. It was like a college class on creativity we were taking, and they forced us all to take this test. And I remember getting my type and reading about it later that day, and I just was like really bothered because I'm not like a person that really is like a big personality test, like, junkie. Like, I'm not obsessed with the astrology thing and anything like that. I'm very like logical, and I really like things to be based on like scientific like evidence to some degree, or like for it to be like if it's being taught in like schools, and I'm like, okay, it has to have some type of background with psych, right, and validity, exactly. So yeah, I think when I found out about my type and I just really read into it, it bothered me how accurate it was. So then I started like literally studying the whole thing, because I was like, wait, like my mom is this, and that's crazy. Like, oh wait, my best friend is this. And then I think it just gave me like an avenue to understanding myself so deeply that it then translated into my songwriting even then, because I was like, oh my God, I have so much more of like a language now for myself and ways to like explain things that have happened to me or things I think. And yeah, communicating with other people too. It's been a great tool.
That makes sense, because a song like Happier Song, like that is like, there is some like insight kind of like,
yeah,
introspective,
right,
well into that one. And it made me think like a song like that. And what do you think, Savanna? Like, why do you think we focus on like what's negative, like what could go wrong instead of what could go right? Like, why do you think like we just like dwarf towards that negativity?
I think for me, like in my life, I think it also really depends on like your experiences with relationships, and like even it goes back into like your upbringing and just the way you perceive closeness. I think for some people, like I'm one of those people where like I've had experiences in relationships where when you get closer, when you open up and when you become vulnerable is when you end up getting let down or get hurt by people. And I don't think everybody, feels that way, but I definitely have always struggled to like have that emotional intimacy. And I think it's always been like a fear of mine to get close and let someone really know you. Because I think when you...
My mentor, Tony Robbins, says the walls that protect you are also the walls that imprison you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I feel that 100%. And it's something I deal with all the time, where I'm like, you can say you're, feeling alone and wondering why no one is like there for you in like a super close way and like romantically, but like you're also not even putting yourself out there to have anybody get to know you and see you for who you are. So yeah, I think it's just scary, because once you really care about somebody, they have like a lot more power to like hurt you. And yeah, I think that's kind of where for me it comes from, at least. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Amazing. Let me ask you, because I think you're going to play a song for us and we're so grateful. You're a solo artist now, that you haven't been all your life. Like, for a time you played with your sister, you've been like, what's that been like, that shift of just kind of having creative control over your show? Like, you have this big show in August here in Nashville, like, just like being transitioning to like a solo artist. Do you like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very fulfilling experience. It feels like I'm a very like big believer in destiny and things happening for a reason, and every step I take is leading me to where I'm supposed to go, kind of thing. And I think when I was younger, I was, always singing with my sister, or I was in choirs, or I was in a quartet even when I was really young, just for like fun with my sister and our two friends. And so a lot of my life has been sharing a stage with somebody else. And there was a little bit of comfort in that, and also comfort in kind of being like the younger sister and hiding kind of behind my sister's creativity and being like, oh, you can be the writer in the group, you can be the creative, and I'm going to be our business side. I'm going to do all of our socials and emails and book our shows. So I like kind of adapted that role for a long time and kind of let her just write, and I would show up and I would sing the songs. But it never really truly got that like across to the crowd that like, this is Savanna and her story too, and this is like where her heart is coming from, and this is where she leans musically. Like, I think it was a lot of just like the people we were writing with were my sister's ideas, and that's really on me. Honestly, at that point in my life, I was 18, 19, and I was just, I think, terrified to step out on my own in a creative sense, just because the vulnerability that comes with releasing music that's yours is just like insane. So I had to like kind of work my way up to it. And then when I got to finally be a solo artist, there was just like a lot of freedom that came with that. And I'm still terrified every time I perform. I mean, I have pretty bad stage anxiety. Most people don't know, because I feel like I've masked it pretty well on stage. And
you know what's funny? And it's so funny you say that, because live on YouTube, like just performing live, and you seem so confident.
Yeah, thank you.
The best. I'm talking to grade A performers, and they share that.
Yeah. It's terrifying. It is. For me, I just have always gone up there, and when I'm up on the stage and I'm like finally singing, I do start to feel better. I think it's like pre-show. It's like right when you're about to go on, I'm like, I could die right now. Like I could pass away. So yeah, I don't know. It's been amazing just to see like myself in a light that I'm like, you can be so much more than just a businesswoman. You can be so much more than, the like limitations I guess I put on myself as a kid, that like you're not a writer. And I think I've proven to myself over the last few years that like I'm very capable of being one, and I'm proud of the stuff that I make, and that like being a songwriter is so much more important to me than anything. Because before I was like, I'll just be an artist that like takes pitch songs. Like that's literally how I thought about it growing up. I was like, and now I can't imagine not writing my own music. Yeah.
Why is that such I've noticed recently, it's great you mentioned this, being a songwriter, like a good songwriter, that seems to be like the highest calling for many artists. Why do you think that is?
I think if your music is your music and it feels like you're writing from a place of like, for me, everything I write comes from true experiences and emotions and feelings I've experienced. Like I haven't written a song about like a character yet. I've never really dove into like the character world where I'm writing about like a friend of mine or something that's made up. And I think those, style of writing, like that's a beautiful thing too. And it's like its own talent, its own thing. And I mean, Taylor Swift is an influence of mine when I was younger, especially, and a lot of her music like recently has been diving into that world of like folklore album of like, I'm going to write about all like characters that aren't even me. There's people that I've like made up a story for them. And I think that's something that's really hard to do as well. But at least up into like, as far as I've gone in my writing journey, I haven't done that yet. So I think there's like a power and a connection that comes with you and your fans and the people that support you when it's like your own story.
That hard.
Yeah. Terrible. That's a new word, guys. Terrible, awful, terrible novel, but also beautiful and special. I mean, there's like, it's like a double-edged sword. I mean, like for me, especially because I'm not someone that, processes my emotions outwardly very much. And I think if I wasn't doing music, there would be so many people in the world who have no idea anything about my, personal life, because I keep everything kind of close. And I guess keeping my cards close is the best way to put it. My bestest friends and my family know a lot about me, but like people outside of that don't typically. So yeah, it's scary, but it's also, it's special because you're, terrible. Processing your feelings like through music is like nothing else. It's like, for me, it's my outlet. So if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to like really even, process my stuff, but also let people connect to me in a real way.
Tell me, like to finish up about this new single, Reminders of You, right? The new single. I think you got played, but tell me about it. Tell me about it.
So Reminders of You was written in last, I think, August, and it was in L.A. And Hurricane Hillary was happening that week, which is crazy because I feel like every time I've gone to LA, it's been raining, which is wild because it never rains. So it's been like the last 2 or 3 times, it's been like, I mean, there was like an earthquake when I was there. I mean, it was like ridiculous. Like I guess LA doesn't like me very much, but I guess you're the common right. But that song was written like kind of halfway through the week. I was there for like a writing trip, and maybe I think a month, not even a full month before that, I just kind of ended things with like my first true relationship. It had been like this on and off long, like 5-year situation. And I think that we finally got to a point where we were like, we are so grown up now. Like we started dating when we were really young and got to a place where like we're adults and we've changed too much. And like we aren't the same people we were when we were this 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. And I don't think we'll ever get back to being those people. And so you had to kind of come to terms with just the idea that like you can care about somebody, but it doesn't mean that like you guys are meant to be. And you can miss somebody, but it doesn't require like reconnection. And there was just so many different things that I was experiencing that day. And I think I'm really good at like pushing things down. And so I guess by that point of the trip, that day we had a session scheduled and it got canceled. So I was a perfect, like, I don't have to like write today. Cause once again, I was like, once I write about it, I'm gonna have to like go and dive into all these feelings. And I kind of didn't want to. And I remember my co-writer on that song, Nick, was like, I was staying at his apartment because my manager is like, that's her husband. So we work together a lot. And I was just staying there for the week. And he was like, I know our session got canceled with the other writer, but like me and you should just keep writing today. And I was like, I don't want to write today. Like, I was like, I want to watch Netflix today. It's like, there's a hurricane, right? Like, he was like, no, I really think we should. And I'm really glad he kind of pushed me that day to write with him, because one of my best and favorite songs that I've ever done came out of, writing it. But I think it's because I really shut off that day. I didn't want to write because I knew that something was like really boiling up that day emotionally. And I think he saw that in me and was like, we're not going to run from our feelings, say like, open up to me and let's make something out of this. And yeah, I mean, it was like a really, really like a beautiful just experience overall. It took hours to get that song just because I wasn't talking to him for the first like hour and a half. I was like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, I didn't want to write today, but eventually, yeah, we got the song and it was like, yeah, one of my favorites off the EP now.
Kudos to you, because it seems like, yeah, like you really are just like opening up yourself more to the universe, and incredible art is coming out of it.
Thank you.
I mean, that's kind of just like the pattern that I'm seeing, and it's beautiful.
Thank you.
And something that's needed in Nashville. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to take us over with that song, Savannah.
Yes.
Or that.
Hello, everybody. My name is Savanna Leigh, and I'm going to play my single that is about to come out. That is the title track of the EP. It's called Reminders of You. Yeah, I learned how to play it like 2 weeks ago on here, so.
What's there to do? 'Cause we're tired and it's a lose-lose. My biggest regret was having to know the what ifs. Now what does it mean when feelings come but don't ever leave? Closed inner states couldn't turn us around, was always headed the wrong way. Now the flowers don't bloom and the summers don't taste the way they used to, and it feels kinda strange laying down in my room and the reminders of you, the reminders of you when our light burned out. I just couldn't face it somehow. This roundabout, half a decade I circled it till I spun out. Now the flowers don't bloom and the summers don't taste the way they used to, and it feels kinda strange laying down in my room and the reminders of you. No, the flowers don't bloom and the summers don't taste the way they used to, and it feels kinda strange with your ghost in my room and the reminders of you, the reminders of you when our light burned out. The colors are showing, the trying is hopeless.
Like chills or chills.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
Yeah,
That was
of course.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here for the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from J-Rod Concert Media.